The stars shifted back into focus as the Valorian fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Commander Thexaval straightened in his command chair, his silver scales catching the light from the view screen. After 3 weeks of travel, they had finally arrived at the primitive world listed in the records as Earth. "Begin scanning procedures," Thexaval ordered, his voice carrying the confidence of someone who had done this 100 times before. Retrieval missions were usually simple. Find the lost ship, collect the supplies, file the paperwork, and move on to the next assignment. The navigator, a young officer named Cress, worked at her console. "Sir, I'm detecting unusual electromagnetic activity. The planet shows signs of extensive technological development." Thexaval waved a dismissive hand. "They probably found some of our equipment. Primitive species often play with things they don't understand. It means nothing." The crashed supply ship had been lost during the Great Expansion over 30,000 years ago. Back then, the Valorian Empire was spreading across the galaxy, establishing colonies and trade routes. One ship crashing on a backwater planet barely registered in the historical records. The only reason they were here now was because a bureaucrat had finally processed the old paperwork. According to the ancient reports, Earth was home to scattered tribes of hairless primates. They used stone tools and lived in caves. The idea that such creatures could develop meaningful technology in a mere 30,000 years was laughable. The Valorians themselves had taken nearly 1,000,000 years to reach the stars. "Sir, I'm receiving a transmission," the communications officer announced, his voice uncertain. "Put it through," Thexaval said. A female voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfect Valorian. "Valorian vessel, this is Earth Defense Network Command. We've been tracking your approach. Welcome to Earth. Please state your purpose." Thexaval felt his scales tighten. The human spoke Valorian not just adequately, but with the formal grammar used in official imperial communications. That should have been impossible. "This is Commander Thexaval of the Valorian Empire. We are here to retrieve property belonging to our people. A supply ship crashed on your world approximately 30,000 of your years ago." There was a brief pause. "Yes, Commander. We're aware of the Valorian vessel. We've been maintaining it. Would you like to land and discuss the details?" "Maintaining it?" Thexaval exchanged glances with his officers. What did these primitives mean by maintaining Valorian technology? "We will land at the coordinates of the crash site," Thexaval said firmly. "The ship isn't at the original crash site anymore, Commander," the human replied. Her tone was patient, almost amused. "We moved it to a more suitable location about 27,000 years ago. Transmitting coordinates now. I'm Admiral Chen, by the way. I look forward to meeting you." The communication ended. Thexaval stared at the view screen as Earth rotated slowly below them. The planet was crisscrossed with lights. Orbital stations dotted the space around it. Ships moved between the planet and its moon. This was not the primitive world he had expected. "Sir, they transmitted coordinates to a place called New Geneva," Cress said. "The landing site is near a large structure. I'm also detecting over 200 satellites in orbit and 17 space stations. Sir, there are ships moving around the planet. They're using fusion drives." "Fusion?" Thexaval repeated. The Valorians had abandoned fusion technology 5,000 years ago in favor of more advanced antimatter systems. But fusion was still far beyond what primitive species should possess. "How is this possible?" the communications officer asked. 30,000 years ago, they were barely using fire." Thexaval's mind raced. The crashed ship had been a supply vessel, carrying food, medical supplies, and equipment for a colony. But it also carried something more valuable: a full cultural database and several FTL drive components. If the humans had found those items and somehow learned from them, no, that was impossible. Understanding Valorian technology required centuries of education in advanced physics and engineering. Even if the humans found the database, they couldn't possibly read it. "Prepare the landing shuttle," Thexaval ordered. "We'll go down and see what these humans have done." Perhaps they simply worshipped the ship as a religious artifact. As the shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, Thexaval watched the planet's surface grow closer. Cities sprawled across the continents. Vehicles moved along roads. Aircraft crossed the skies. This was not a primitive world. This was a civilization. The shuttle landed on a platform outside a massive white building. The structure was beautiful, combining curves and angles in a way that reminded Thexaval of Valorian architecture, yet distinctly different. Gardens surrounded the building and a fountain sparkled in the afternoon sun. A group of humans waited at the base of the landing platform. They wore formal uniforms, dark blue with gold trim. One woman stepped forward as Thexval and his officers exited the shuttle. She had dark skin, short gray hair, and eyes that sparkled with intelligence. "Commander Thexval," she said in Valorian, bowing slightly. "I'm Admiral Chen. Welcome to Earth. I hope your journey was pleasant." Thexval returned the bow, though his mind was spinning. The human's Valorian was flawless. Her uniform showed military precision. Everything about this situation was wrong. "Admiral Chen," he replied. "I must admit your world is not what we expected." Chen smiled. "I imagine not. Your records are 30,000 years old after all. We've changed quite a bit since then. Please come inside. We have much to discuss." She gestured toward the building. As they walked, Thexval noticed the inscription above the entrance. It was written in both human languages and Valorian. "Museum of First Contact." "Museum?" Thexval asked. "Yes," Chen said. "We've preserved your ship and everything aboard it. We thought you might return someday, so we wanted to make sure everything was in perfect condition. It seemed only right given what your people gave us." "What we gave you?" Thexval's confusion deepened. Chen stopped and turned to face him. Her expression was serious now. "Commander, your ship didn't just crash on our world. It changed everything. We've spent 30,000 years studying it, learning from it, and building on what we found. Your people gave us the stars even if you didn't mean to. We owe you a debt we can never fully repay." The doors to the museum opened automatically. Inside, Thexval could see displays of artifacts, holographic exhibits, and in the center of the vast main hall, something that made his breath catch. His ship. The lost Valorian supply vessel. It sat on a platform restored to pristine condition. The hull gleamed. Every panel was perfect. It looked better than the day it had left the construction yards, but surrounding the ship were other displays. Human artifacts arranged in chronological order. Stone tools, metal weapons, primitive computers, spacecraft. Each display showed human technology evolving, and next to each human achievement was a corresponding Valorian item from the crashed ship. "We've been waiting for you," Chen said softly. "We've been taking care of your gift. And now that you're here, it's time we talked about what comes next." Thexval stared at the museum around him, finally understanding the truth. These humans hadn't simply found Valorian technology. They had studied it for 30 millennia. They had learned from it, adapted it, and used it to pull themselves up from the Stone Age to the stars. And they were grateful. Dr. Sarah Okonkwo was waiting for them inside the museum. She was younger than Admiral Chen, perhaps in her 40s by human reckoning, with warm brown eyes and an enthusiastic smile that reminded Thexval of a student eager to share a discovery. "Commander Thexval," she said, extending her hand in the human greeting gesture. Thexval had studied enough about Earth during the descent to know he should grasp it. Her grip was firm but not aggressive. "I'm the curator here. I've been looking forward to meeting you for my entire life." "Your entire life?" Thexval asked. "My family has worked at this museum for 8 generations," Sarah explained as she led them deeper into the hall. "My great-great-great-great-great-grandmother was part of the team that moved the ship here. We've dedicated ourselves to understanding and preserving what you left behind." The museum was enormous. The main hall stretched for hundreds of meters, and Thexval could see corridors branching off in all directions. Every surface held a display, a hologram, or an artifact. The lighting was carefully arranged to highlight each item. "Let me show you our timeline," Sarah said, gesturing to a long display that ran along the left wall. "We've organized it chronologically, showing how human technology evolved alongside our study of your vessel." The first display case held crude stone tools next to a Valorian data pad. The pad was cracked but still recognizable. A holographic label explained that the pad had been found near the crash site 28,000 years ago. "We couldn't read it at first, obviously," Sarah said, "but we knew it was important. We kept it safe. We passed it down through generations, always protecting it, always studying it." The next case showed bronze weapons next to Valorian medical tools, then iron tools next to a Valorian scanning device. Each human achievement was paired with a Valorian counterpart, showing the progression of understanding. "It took us nearly 25,000 years before we could even begin to understand what we had found," Sarah continued. "But we never stopped trying. Every generation added to the knowledge. We built on what came before. Cress, the Valorian navigator, had stopped at a display showing early human computers. They were massive, primitive things compared to Valorian technology. But next to them sat a Valorian processing core, and the display explained how humans had studied its structure to improve their own designs. You reverse-engineered our technology, Cress said softly. Sarah nodded. Yes, but it wasn't theft, if that's what you're thinking. We didn't have a choice. We found something extraordinary, and our ancestors knew it was important even when they didn't understand it. They preserved it. They studied it. They learned from it. Each generation built on what the previous one discovered. Thexval moved to a display that showed the breakthrough moment. It was about 3,000 years ago. A human scientist had finally deciphered the Valorian language using the cultural database. The display showed her notes, her calculations, her moment of triumph. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, Sarah said, stopping beside him. She spent 40 years working on the translation. When she finally succeeded, she cried. We have recordings of that moment. She knew she had just opened a door to the stars for all of humanity. The displays continued, showing faster and faster progress once humans could read Valorian texts. They learned about physics principles the Valorians had discovered. They understood the mathematics behind faster-than-light travel. They grasped the engineering needed for fusion reactors. But what struck Thexval was that humans hadn't simply copied Valorian designs. They had adapted them. A display showed human FTL drives next to Valorian ones. The human version was different, using less exotic materials because Earth didn't have access to the rare elements Valorians used. The human design was slower but more fuel-efficient. We had to improvise, Sarah explained when she noticed where Thexval was looking. We couldn't replicate your technology exactly. We didn't have the same resources. So we found alternatives. Sometimes our solutions were better for different reasons. They reached the center of the museum where the ship itself stood. Thexval walked around it slowly, examining every detail. The vessel was perfect. Every scratch had been repaired. Every panel had been polished. The hull bore no sign of the crash that had brought it to Earth 30,000 years ago. How? Thexval asked. How did you restore it so completely? Carefully, Sarah said with a small smile. Very, very carefully. We documented every piece. We studied the metallurgy and learned to replicate it. We found ways to repair the damage using methods that matched the original construction. It took us nearly 1,000 years to fully restore it, but we wanted it to be perfect. We wanted you to have it back exactly as it was. Admiral Chen joined them by the ship. We've kept everything, Commander. The supplies are in climate-controlled storage. The medical equipment still functions. The cultural database is intact. Even the food, though I doubt it's edible anymore, has been preserved for your examination. Thexval felt something he rarely experienced. Shame. The Valorians had crashed on this planet and abandoned it. They had written off the ship and its contents as a loss. They had forgotten about Earth entirely. Yet these humans had spent 30,000 years caring for Valorian property. They had treated it with reverence and respect. Why? He asked. Why did you do all of this? Sarah's expression grew thoughtful. Because you gave us hope. Our ancestors were living in caves, struggling to survive. Then they found evidence of something greater. Proof that intelligence could reach the stars. It became our purpose, our dream. Every generation knew they were working toward something important. You showed us what was possible. But we didn't mean to, Thexval protested. It was an accident. A crash, does that matter? Chen asked. You still changed our world. You still gave us the tools to become more than we were. Intent doesn't change the gift. Cress had wandered to a side display that showed human colony ships. She studied them intently, her head tilted in concentration. Commander, she called out. You should see this. Thexval joined her. The display showed Earth's 47 colony worlds. Each one was detailed with population statistics, resource information, and technological capabilities. Humans had spread across dozens of star systems in less than 200 years. That's impossible, Thexval said. It took the Valorian Empire 10,000 years to establish 50 colonies. We were motivated, Chen said simply. And we had good teachers, even if they weren't here to teach us directly. Your database contained information about habitable worlds, about terraforming techniques, about sustainable colony development. We studied it all. Sarah pulled up a holographic star map. Blue dots showed Valorian space. Green dots showed human colonies. Red dots showed other spacefaring species. We've encountered 3 other civilizations, she explained. We've established peaceful trade with all of them. They call us the Persistence because we never stop improving, never stop learning. The other species, Thexval said carefully. What do they think of you? They're cautious, Chen admitted. We went from primitive to spacefaring very quickly by galactic standards. Some are suspicious, some are intrigued. But we've been peaceful. We trade fairly. We share knowledge. We're trying to be good neighbors. Thexval turned to face both women. We came here to collect our property. But this is more complicated than a simple retrieval mission. Yes, Chen agreed. It is. Commander, we don't want to keep your ship. It belongs to your people. Everything in this museum belongs to you. But we hope you'll understand what it meant to us. We hope you'll see that we used your gift wisely, Sarah added, and we hope you'll help us take the next step. We want to join the galactic community properly. We want to be recognized as a legitimate spacefaring civilization. But we need someone to sponsor us, someone to vouch that we earned our place among the stars honestly. Thexval looked at the ship, then at the museum around him, then at the 2 human women who stood before him with hope in their eyes. Everything he thought he knew about this mission had been wrong. These weren't primitives playing with technology they didn't understand. These were people who had worked for 30,000 years to become worthy of the stars. I need to report this to my superiors, he said finally. This is far beyond my authority to decide. We understand, Chen said. But while you're here, let us show you what else we've built. Let us show you who we've become. Then you can make your report with full knowledge of what humanity has achieved. Thexval nodded slowly. He had come to Earth expecting a simple retrieval. Instead, he had found something that would change everything. The orbital station hung above Earth like a silver flower, its petals rotating gently to create artificial gravity. Thexval stood in the observation deck, watching ships come and go from the planet below. Human ships, dozens of them, moving with purpose and precision. Admiral Chen had invited the Valorian delegation to tour humanity's achievements while negotiations began. Thexval had agreed, though part of him wished he could simply take the ship and leave. Everything about this situation made him uncomfortable. The station was built 40 years ago, Chen explained as she joined him at the viewport. We have 12 more like it in orbit. They serve as trade hubs, research facilities, and defense platforms. Defense against what? Thexval asked. Space debris mostly, Chen said, though we've had a few encounters with automated mining drones from the Krellian Dominion. They were harvesting asteroids in our system without permission. We asked them to stop. They didn't listen. We disabled their drones and returned them with a polite message explaining property rights. Thexval's scales rippled in surprise. The Krellian Dominion was one of the older spacefaring civilizations, proud and territorial. They accepted this? Eventually, Chen smiled. After we disabled 3 more waves of drones. Now they ask permission. We even trade with them sometimes. A young human officer approached and saluted. Admiral, the delegation from Mars has arrived. They're ready for the presentation. Excellent, Chen said. Commander, would you like to see how we've spread across our solar system? The presentation took place in a conference room with a holographic display dominating the center. Representatives from Mars, the Moon, Europa, and Titan joined via video link. Each of them explained their colonies to the Valorian delegation. Mars housed 20 million people in underground cities. The Moon had research facilities and industrial complexes. Europa's ocean colonies studied alien life forms in the Moon's subsurface seas. Titan's floating platforms harvested hydrocarbons from the atmosphere. All of this in less than 200 years. Kress whispered to Thexval. Sir, the Valorian Empire took 5,000 years to colonize our own solar system. Thexval nodded but said nothing. The comparison was obvious and uncomfortable. Humanity had achieved in 2 centuries what took the Valorians millennia. The difference was staggering. After the presentation, Dr. Okonkwo returned. She carried a datapad filled with technical information. Commander, I'd like to show you some specific innovations we developed based on your technology. She led them to a research laboratory within the station. Scientists worked at various stations, studying everything from new materials to biological samples. Sarah stopped at a display showing human artificial intelligence systems. Your cultural database warned about the dangers of unrestricted AI, she explained. You mentioned something called the machine wars. We took that warning seriously. Our AI is limited, carefully monitored and designed with safety protocols that go beyond what your records suggested. One of the Valorian engineers, a specialist named Drex, examined the human AI architecture. "This is remarkable," he said. "You've solved the consciousness recursion problem. Our scientists have been working on that for 3,000 years. We approached it differently," Sarah said. "We didn't try to create consciousness. We created tools that think but don't feel. They're intelligent but not self-aware. It's a subtle distinction but an important one." The next display showed medical advances. Humans had used the genetic samples from the Valorian ship to understand their own biology better. They had eliminated thousands of diseases. Life expectancy had tripled. Genetic disorders had been corrected. "The Valorian medical database saved billions of lives," Sarah said quietly. "We can never repay that debt." Thexval felt his discomfort growing. The Valorians hadn't meant to help humanity. The ship had crashed. The supplies were abandoned. Yet humans treated it as a precious gift and had used it to better themselves. "Let me show you something else," Chen said. She led them to another section of the station where a massive viewport looked out on Earth's shipyards. Dozens of vessels were under construction, from small exploration ships to massive colony carriers. "This is our newest colony ship," Chen said, highlighting one particular vessel. "It's heading to a system 60 light-years away. The planet there is what your database classified as uncollectible because of high gravity and a dense atmosphere. That classification means it's impossible to colonize," Thexval said. "Impossible for Valorians," Chen corrected gently. "But humans are smaller and more adaptable. We've designed the colony specifically for high-gravity conditions. The colonists have been training for 3 years. They're ready." Cress pulled up the system data on her pad. "This planet has 2.3 times standard gravity. The atmosphere is 70% nitrogen, 25% oxygen, and 5% trace gases. Surface temperature averages 45 degrees Celsius. How will you survive there?" "Carefully," Chen said with a slight smile. "We've developed new materials that can withstand the conditions. We've genetically adapted crops to grow there. We've trained the colonists extensively. Will it be easy? No, but we've never let difficulty stop us." Drex, the engineer, was studying the colony ship's specifications. "Commander, you need to see this. Their hull design is revolutionary. They've compensated for the material limitations by using a layered approach with flexible joints. It distributes stress more efficiently than our rigid designs. In high-gravity conditions, this ship would actually perform better than a Valorian equivalent." Thexval examined the data himself. Drex was right. The human design was crude in some ways, using less advanced materials and simpler systems. But the engineering was brilliant. They had worked around their limitations and created something that exceeded Valorian capabilities in specific circumstances. "How many colony ships do you launch each year?" Thexval asked. "This year, 8, Chen replied. "Next year we're planning 12. We're growing carefully but steadily. Every colony is chosen for specific reasons. We're not just expanding randomly. We're building a sustainable civilization." Sarah brought up more data. "We've also made contact with other species, as we mentioned. The Ythron Collective has been teaching us about quantum communication. The Palaxis Republic trades with us for our medical technology. The Sorveth Confederacy is interested in our AI safety protocols." "You trade your technology freely?" Thexval asked, surprised. "Knowledge should be shared," Chen said. "We learned that from your cultural database. The Valorians believed in knowledge exchange as a path to galactic harmony. We took that lesson to heart." Thexval felt a strange sensation in his chest, shame mixed with something else, pride. These humans had taken Valorian ideals and lived them more fully than the Valorians themselves had in centuries. Over the next several days, the delegation toured more human facilities. They visited research stations where human scientists worked on terraforming techniques. They saw military installations where human defense forces trained not for conquest, but for protection. They met with human diplomats who spoke multiple alien languages and understood galactic politics. On the 4th day, Cress approached Thexval privately in his quarters aboard the human station. "Sir, I need to speak freely." "Go ahead, navigator." "The Valorian Empire has been stagnant for 10,000 years, Cress said bluntly. "We haven't had a major innovation in technology in my lifetime. We maintain what we have, but we don't improve. These humans have learned more in 2 centuries than we've learned in millennia." "I know," Thexval said quietly. What are we going to do? Kress asked. If we report this accurately, the High Command will panic. A primitive species that advanced this quickly could be seen as a threat. They're not a threat, Thexval said. They're grateful. They want to join the galactic community, not conquer it. Will the High Command see it that way? Thexval didn't answer because he didn't know. The Valorian Empire was old and proud. Learning that a species they had dismissed as primitive had surpassed them in many ways would be difficult to accept. That evening, Admiral Chen invited Thexval to a private dinner. They ate in a restaurant on the station that served both human and Valorian cuisine. The Valorian food was surprisingly accurate, showing how carefully humans had studied the cultural database. You're troubled, Chen observed as they ate. I don't know what to tell my superiors, Thexval admitted. Everything about this situation is unprecedented. Tell them the truth, Chen said. Tell them that humanity is ready to join the galactic community. Tell them we've earned that right through 30,000 years of hard work. Tell them we're not asking for charity. We're offering partnership. And if they refuse? Chen was quiet for a moment. Then we'll continue on our own path. We'd prefer to have the Valorian Empire as friends and mentors, but we won't be stopped. We've come too far to turn back now. Thexval looked at the human admiral. She was calm, confident, and absolutely serious. Humanity would go to the stars with or without Valorian approval. They had already proven they could succeed on their own. I'll report everything honestly, Thexval said, but I'll also recommend that the Empire accept your application. You deserve recognition, Chen smiled. Thank you, Commander. That means more than you know. Outside the viewport, Earth turned slowly in the darkness of. The communication came through 3 days after Thexval sent his report to the Valorian High Command. He sat alone in his quarters aboard the command ship, watching the holographic message from Grand Admiral Vexthor, the head of the Valorian military. Commander Thexval, the Grand Admiral's image said, his scaled face stern and disapproving. Your report has caused considerable debate within the High Command. The idea that a primitive species has developed so rapidly is troubling to many of our officials. Thexval had expected this reaction. The Valorian Empire prided itself on its ancient wisdom and technological superiority. Learning that humans had achieved in centuries what took Valorians millennia would not sit well with the conservative faction. The High Command has made its decision, Vexthor continued. You are to reclaim all Valorian technology from Earth immediately. This includes the ship, all supplies, and any derivatives of our technology that the humans have created. Furthermore, we are imposing sanctions on Earth. They will not be permitted to join the galactic community until they develop their own technology without relying on Valorian innovations. The message ended. Thexval sat in silence, his mind racing. The order was clear, but it was also wrong. The humans hadn't stolen Valorian technology. They had found it, studied it, and built upon it. They had spent 30,000 years earning their place among the stars. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. Enter, he called. Kress stepped inside, followed by Drex and 3 other officers from his crew. They all looked troubled. Sir, we received the High Command's decision, Kress said. We wanted to speak with you privately. Go ahead. The order is wrong, Drex said bluntly. I've spent the last week working with human engineers. They're brilliant. They've solved problems that Valorian scientists have struggled with for generations. Punishing them for learning seems cruel and counterproductive. The other officers murmured agreement. Thexval looked at each of them, seeing the same conflict he felt reflected in their faces. What do you suggest we do? Thexval asked. Refuse the order, Kress said quietly. Or at least delay it while we petition the High Command to reconsider. Sir, if we antagonize humanity now, we'll make enemies of people who want to be our friends. Thexval stood and walked to the viewport. Earth hung below them, beautiful and vibrant. If I refuse a direct order from the High Command, my career is over. Possibly worse. We know, sir, Drex said. We're willing to support you, all of us. We'll testify to what we've seen here. We'll explain the truth to anyone who will listen. Before Thexval could respond, another message came through. This one was from Admiral Chen, marked urgent. Commander, Chen's recorded message said. We've been monitoring Valorian communication channels. We know about the High Command's decision. We want you to know that we understand. You have your orders. We won't resist if you choose to enforce them. But before you do, we'd like to invite you to one final demonstration. Tomorrow morning, the colony ship we showed you will be launching. We'd be honored if you and your crew would attend. The message ended. Thexaval looked at his officers. She knew. She knew what the High Command would decide. And she's not angry. They're giving us a chance to see what we'd be destroying, Cress said softly. The next morning, Thexaval and his entire crew attended the launch ceremony. They stood on an observation platform at the Earth shipyard, surrounded by thousands of humans. Families were saying goodbye to loved ones who would be colonizing the high-gravity world. Children waved flags. People cried and laughed and celebrated. Dr. Okonkwo stood beside Thexaval. The colony ship is named Persistence, she explained. It seemed appropriate. The colonists are volunteers. They know the planet will be difficult. They know some of them might not survive. But they're going anyway because that's what humans do. We persist. The colony ship was massive, larger than anything the Valorians had built in recent memory. It carried 10,000 colonists, along with supplies, equipment, and genetic material to establish a thriving settlement. The vessel's hull gleamed in the sunlight, every surface perfect and purposeful. Admiral Chen spoke at the ceremony, her voice carried through speakers so everyone could hear. Today we send out our brothers and sisters to claim a new world. They go not as conquerors but as settlers. They carry with them the best of humanity, our determination, our creativity, and our hope for the future. And they carry with them gratitude to the Valorian people, whose gift 30,000 years ago made all of this possible. The crowd cheered. Thexaval felt something tighten in his chest. These people were thanking the Valorians while knowing that the Valorian High Command wanted to strip them of their achievements. The launch sequence began. The colony ship's engines ignited, brilliant blue flames pushing it away from the shipyard. It accelerated slowly, gracefully, until it was just a bright point moving toward the edge of the solar system where it would engage its FTL drive. After the ceremony, Thexaval met with Chen and Okonkwo in a private conference room. You knew what the High Command would decide, he said. Yet you invited us to watch the launch anyway. We wanted you to see what's at stake, Chen said simply. Not just for us, but for the galaxy. Commander, humanity has something to offer. We solve problems differently because we had to. We innovate because we don't have the luxury of ancient technology. We could benefit the galactic community if given the chance. Sarah pulled up a holographic display. Commander, we've compiled research on 17 specific Valorian technological challenges that are currently unsolved. We believe we have solutions to at least 12 of them. We're offering to share this research freely with the Valorian Empire. Thexaval examined the display. The problems listed were genuine issues that Valorian scientists had been working on for years. Some for decades. You would give us this information? Even after the High Command's decision? Yes, Chen said. Because it's the right thing to do. You gave us the stars even if you didn't mean to. The least we can do is help solve your problems. Drex leaned forward, studying the research. Sir, these solutions are elegant. If they work, they would revolutionize Valorian engineering. They work, Sarah said confidently. We've tested them extensively. We're not offering theories. We're offering proven results. Thexaval stood and walked to the viewport. His reflection stared back at him, and he barely recognized himself. A week ago, he had been a simple commander on a routine retrieval mission. Now he was facing the most important decision of his life. If I defy the High Command, he said slowly, I risk everything. My career, my reputation, possibly my freedom. We know, Chen said quietly. We're not asking you to sacrifice yourself for us. We just wanted you to know the full truth before you make your decision. Thexaval turned to face his crew. Every one of them stood straighter, their expressions determined. Cress spoke first. Sir, we've discussed this among ourselves. If you choose to refuse the order, we'll support you. All of us. We've seen what humanity has achieved. We've seen their potential. We believe the High Command is wrong. You would risk your careers too? Yes, sir, they said in unison. Thexaval looked at the humans, then at his crew, then back at Earth hanging in the viewport. He thought about 30,000 years of human persistence. He thought about the gratitude in their voices when they spoke of the Valorians. He thought about the potential for both civilizations if they worked together instead of apart. Prepare a public statement, Thexaval said, his voice steady. I'm going to address both the Valorian High Command and the human people. I will recommend that the Empire recognize humanity as a legitimate spacefaring civilization. I will advocate for their inclusion in the galactic community, and I will refuse to reclaim the technology by force. Chen's eyes widened. Commander, are you certain? No, Thexaval admitted. But I'm certain that it's the right thing to do. The Valorian Empire was founded on principles of knowledge sharing and galactic cooperation. Somewhere along the way we forgot those principles. Humanity remembers them. They live them. Perhaps it's time we learned from you for a change. He turned to Kress. Send the statement to all Valorian channels. Make it public so the High Command can't suppress it. Yes, sir, Kress said, a smile spreading across her face. Thexval looked at Admiral Chen. I can't promise the High Command will listen, but I can promise I'll fight for you. You've earned that much, Chen extended her hand. Thank you, Commander. Whatever happens next, know that you've made the right choice. As Thexval grasped her hand, he wondered what the future would hold. The High Command would be furious. There would be consequences. But as he looked at the faces around him, both human and Valorian, united in purpose, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. He felt hope. 3 months had passed since Thexaval made his public statement. 3 months of intense negotiations, heated debates, and political maneuvering across Valorian space. Thexaval had been recalled to the Valorian homeworld to face a tribunal. But the response to his statement had been more complicated than anyone expected. The younger generation of Valorians had embraced his position. They saw humanity's achievements as inspiration rather than threat. Older Valorians were divided. Some called Thexaval a traitor. Others quietly admitted that the Empire had grown stagnant and needed new perspectives. The tribunal chamber was ancient, carved from crystal that reflected light in rainbow patterns. Thexaval stood in the center, surrounded by the 7 members of the High Command. Grand Admiral Vexthor presided over the proceedings. Commander Thexaval, Vexthor began, his voice echoing through the chamber. You defied a direct order from this command. You made a public statement that contradicted official Valorian policy. You advocated for a species that has not yet been recognized by the galactic community. What do you have to say? I did what I believed was right, Thexaval said simply. The humans have spent 30,000 years earning their place among the stars. They have been grateful for what we inadvertently gave them. They have used it wisely. They have become valuable members of the galactic community, whether we officially recognize them or not. Denying this serves no purpose except to protect our pride. One of the tribunal members, an elderly Valorian named Sektar, leaned forward. You speak of our pride as if it were a flaw. The Valorian Empire has endured for nearly 1,000,000 years. Our pride is earned. I don't dispute that, Thexaval said. But pride should not blind us to opportunity. Humanity offers us a chance to grow, to learn, to become better. Isn't that what the Empire was founded on? The pursuit of knowledge and improvement? The chamber fell silent. Several tribunal members exchanged glances. Finally, a younger member named Reskal spoke. Commander Thexaval, during your absence, something interesting happened. 17 Valorian colony worlds petitioned the High Command to review your recommendation. They specifically requested access to the human research you mentioned in your statement. Our scientists want to study human innovations. And not just our scientists, another tribunal member added. Trade guilds want to establish relations with humanity. Cultural exchanges have been proposed. Young Valorians are learning human languages. Your statement started something we cannot easily stop. Vexthor raised a hand for silence. The tribunal has deliberated extensively. Commander Thexaval, you defied orders, but your actions have forced us to confront an uncomfortable truth. The Valorian Empire has been stagnant. We have maintained our position through ancient technology rather than new innovation. Perhaps that was enough in the past, but the galaxy is changing. Species are rising who think differently, solve problems differently, and offer new perspectives. He paused, and Thexaval saw something unexpected in the Grand Admiral's eyes. Respect. The tribunal's decision is as follows. Vexthor continued. You will not be punished for your actions. Instead, you are hereby promoted to ambassador and given a new assignment. You will return to Earth and formally sponsor humanity's application to the Galactic Council. The Valorian Empire officially recognizes humanity as a legitimate spacefaring civilization. Thexaval felt his scales tingle with surprise. The High Command is accepting them? With conditions, Vexthor said. They must agree to certain protocols regarding technology sharing. They must accept oversight of their AI development, and they must allow Valorian scientists to study their innovations in exchange for deeper access to our knowledge. But yes, we are accepting them. Relief flooded through Thexval. "Thank you, Grand Admiral. I believe this is the right decision." "Time will tell," Vexthor said, "but you were correct about one thing. We cannot ignore what humanity has achieved. Now go back to Earth and tell them the news." 2 weeks later, Thexval returned to Earth aboard a much larger Valorian delegation. The ceremony was held at the Museum of First Contact, where everything had begun. Thousands of humans and Valorians gathered to witness the formal recognition. Admiral Chen stood beside Thexval as Dr. Okonkwo prepared the centerpiece of the ceremony. The Valorian ship was being returned. Humans had spent 30,000 years caring for it, and now it was time to give it back. "Are you certain about this?" Thexval asked Chen quietly. "The ship has tremendous historical value to your people." "It belongs to you," Chen said firmly. "We're grateful for what it taught us, but we don't need it anymore. We've learned the lessons it had to teach. Now it's time for it to go home." The ceremony began. Dr. Okonkwo gave a speech about humanity's journey from the Stone Age to the stars. She spoke about the generations who had studied the ship, preserved it, and learned from it. She spoke about gratitude and determination. Then Thexval spoke. He talked about the Valorian Empire's founding principles of knowledge sharing and cooperation. He acknowledged that the Empire had lost sight of those ideals, and he thanked humanity for reminding the Valorians of what they once were. "Today, the Valorian Empire formally recognizes humanity as our partners in the stars," Thexval announced. "We sponsor your application to the Galactic Council. We welcome you as equals, as friends, and as teachers. You have shown us that limitations can inspire innovation, that gratitude can build civilizations, and that determination can achieve the impossible." The crowd erupted in cheers. Humans and Valorians alike celebrated the moment. It was a new beginning for both species. After the ceremony, there was a moment Thexval would never forget. A young human girl, perhaps 8 years old, approached him shyly. She held a drawing she had made of the Valorian ship. "Thank you," she said in careful Valorian. "Thank you for the stars." Thexval knelt down to her level. "You're welcome, but your people earned the stars themselves. We just showed you they were possible." The girl smiled and handed him the drawing. "My teacher says that's the most important gift, knowing what's possible." As the celebration continued, Thexval found himself standing with Chen, Okonkwo, and Kress, watching humans and Valorians mingle and talk. Scientists exchanged ideas. Engineers discussed projects. Children played together despite the language barriers. "There's something you should know," Chen said quietly. "We've been monitoring long-range communications. The Krellian Dominion has taken notice of our recognition. They're not happy about it." "The Krellians are never happy," Kress said. "They view any new spacefaring species as a threat." "They're more than unhappy," Chen continued. "They're actively opposing our application to the Galactic Council. They're arguing that humanity advanced too quickly and must have done so through theft or deception. They're calling for a full investigation." Thexval's scales rippled with concern. "The Krellians are powerful. If they oppose your membership strongly enough, they could cause serious problems." "We anticipated this," Sarah said. "We've prepared documentation of every stage of our development. We can prove that we learned from your technology legitimately. We can show the 30,000 years of gradual progress." "It may not be enough," Thexval warned. "The Krellians are looking for an excuse to contain you. They fear rapid development species." "Then we'll face them together," Chen said firmly. "You and us. The Valorian Empire and humanity. We're stronger as allies." Over the following weeks, the situation with the Krellians escalated. They sent investigators to Earth. They questioned the timeline of human development. They demanded access to human technology to verify it wasn't stolen from other species. Humanity cooperated fully, allowing the Krellians to examine everything. But the Krellians weren't interested in the truth. They wanted to find fault, to justify their fear of humanity's rapid rise. The confrontation came at a session of the Galactic Council. Thexval stood beside Admiral Chen as representatives from dozens of species debated humanity's application for membership. The Krellian ambassador, a towering insectoid creature named Tharkus, made his case against humanity. "This species advances too quickly," Tharkus clicked. "They go from primitive to spacefaring in mere thousands of years. This is unnatural. They must be contained before they become a threat to established civilizations." Thexval stepped forward. "The Krellians fear what they don't understand. Humanity advanced quickly because they had to. They learned from every mistake. They built on every success. This is not a threat. This is what all species should aspire to: constant improvement and growth. Other species began to speak. The Yithran Collective praised human innovation in quantum communication. The Palaxis Republic testified to fair trade practices with humanity. The Sorveth Confederacy spoke about human AI safety protocols that had helped solve their own technological challenges. Finally, Admiral Chen herself addressed the Council. We don't ask for membership because we're perfect. We ask for membership because we've earned it. We've proven we can be good neighbors. We've proven we can contribute to the galactic community. And we've proven that we honor our debts. The Valorians gave us the stars, even accidentally. We spent 30,000 years being worthy of that gift. Judge us by our actions, not your fears. The vote was close, but humanity's application was accepted.